morning, everybody. So, planning your 15 to 20 minute section of group lesson. It's fine. They will be warmed up already. You don't have to do a bow. You just step in. So pick one piece, one thing to work on.
One piece?
One thing.
One thing?
One thing to work on. Something to work on. So it could be off the top of your head.
The articulation.
Articulation. Sarah?
Long scoopy bows.
Great. Iram?
Don't clap this one back.
No, that's not something to work on. That's a game to get their attention.
Okay, something. What did you say?
A topic.
Okay.
She said articulation.
And you said rhythm?
Scoopy bows, which is kind of articulation, but also tone.
Yeah.
Rhythm?
What? You need something that would give you an idea, like, okay, this is what I would work on.
One thing work on for whole lesson, do you mean?
For 15 minutes.
For 15 minutes.
What topics might you choose? You might choose articulation, you might choose tone, you might choose, what do they need to work on at that level?
Lots of things that's coming and I'm not sure if they are right.
Yes, try me, I'll tell you.
I said rhythm, is it wrong when I said that?
It's not specific enough. What would you do? What about the rhythm?
We can play the whole twinkles, like.
But this is not a topic, this is one thing. Playing a twinkle is working on that twinkle. Why are you playing twinkle? To get them better at what?
I don't know really.
Think about what you want as a musician. What skills do you need when you're playing in a group?
As a child, what skills they need?
Well, also in orchestra or as an adult.
Like playing together.
Perfect. So that could be your topic, playing together. Or we could have dynamics. Memory.
Retakes.
Yeah. Can you think of something else, Iram? I mean, articulation has lots of things in it. We could work on big bows, we could work on small bows, we could work on stopped bows, we could work on smooth bows. But is there something else? What else? If you imagine a Suzuki group lesson that you've watched, what else would they work on? Might they work on?
Ball?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Or
Which part are we on the book?
it doesn't even matter. Let's say long ago. But some of them will be on Lightly Rose, some of them will be on Allegretto maybe.
I would say leading, but that's just for.
Yeah, maybe a little bit later, but good idea, yes.
Posture.
Exactly. Violin position, head position, yeah, perfect. We've definitely covered the main ones. Do you have another one, Irem, or do you want me to list the other ones that come into my head?
She always said posture, so maybe listening?
Yeah, very good, yeah. So we could also be thinking about getting ready together, sort of like playing together, but slightly different. We could be thinking about following the leader. We could do games where you literally move around the room and they keep their scroll pointing towards you. Or you could do games where you play faster, slower, so that they can follow when in the music what you're leading. We might listen to ringing sounds for really good intonation. You might do the finger marches, which we haven't done yet. We'll do maybe today actually, to about their finger patterns. And I think at this stage that pretty much is pretty exhaustive list. So you pick one thing that is a technical or musical point that you want them to improve on. You don't have to choose what you said first today, you can choose any of them. It doesn't matter if it's the same as each other. Then what you want is an exercise to really focus on that. So let's say we're going to work on posture, right? So they've done their warm up, you're going to say, okay, do you think it's important that we play with good posture? Yes or no? And some smart aleck will say no, and the rest of them will say yes. And you say, okay, so let's talk about what would be really good in posture. And then you might decide to do it. So, okay, I'm gonna show you my best posture. Is it good? And they'll say no, and you say, why not? What's wrong with it? And they say, your violin needs to be higher. And you say, okay, it needs to be higher, good. And what else needs to happen? And your head needs to go this way. And they will help you fix it. And this is a really great way for them to see what needs doing, and then you can do it with them. Or you might say, okay, who can show me something that's really great about their posture? And someone will say, and you say, oh wow, look at that head position. And someone else will have maybe their violin, their hand ready to play a really beautiful waterfall, and you can show the whole group, okay, yeah, let's see if we can copy Alice doing this, and whatever, Timothy doing this, whatever. And so then you're going to take them step by step through that thing. So if it was posture, say, I know that you're all far too grown up for stop the traffic now, if they are, maybe some of them aren't, but let's just check. We're going to check our feet, we're going to get into rest position, we're going to have Mr. Snappy go through all of the steps and see, okay, now let's see if we've got everyone in perfect violin position. Can you give me a wave, blah, blah, blah. And then you're going to play, and you might decide, okay, we're going to play Twinkle Variation A. Some will be on open strings. So for the beginner group, there are some kids who've just started, and for your group, there are like middle of book 1 up to early book 2. You don't need to worry about book 2. And so that will be about 10 minutes already, and then you can, for example, put them in pairs and say, you have to like really watch each other and see if you're doing as good a job as your pair. Or you can get the parents up to play the flag game, but they're not going to have a flag. But if their violin position goes droopy while you're playing whatever it is you're playing, the parents can help them. And so something that gets them really focused on that one point during whatever activity you're doing.
Okay.
So 10 minutes on that, 15 minutes max, and then a game. That's what I would like you to plan.
Okay.
So how are you going to introduce what you're working on? Please talk to the parents, explain why what you've chosen is important. Show them something they can also practice at home. And then finish with the game. If you can relate it, even better. So the game for my posture practice lesson might be, okay, I have all of these tiny little rubbers, I'm going to put one on each of your violins, and you have to stand with your hands on your tummy while I play you allegro. Can you keep it up? Excellent! Okay, and then if you can't, you can try again. Can you understand?
So we will tell parents, and do you mean that we'll explain before we do the game while we are doing it?
Maybe at the end of the work bit,
Okay.
just say to the parents, look, the reason that, for me, the reason posture is so important is because we really want your children to be comfortable while they play, so they can play for as long as they want, and also that this will get the best sound out of the instrument. Because playing violin is all about angles, and if you have the angles wrong, the sound goes wrong, or your body is uncomfortable. So we really want to check that you have the violin parallel with the floor, this ear listening more carefully to the violin, or the head this way, and that they can really think about that. That's why we need them to do easy pieces in their practice. That's why review is so important. You think about this stuff in review, don't worry about it so much in your working piece, and then it will become automatic.
Can we?
1 minute of explanation, not a lecture.
Can we invite the parents to do something?
Yeah, of course. Every time, that's always going to be a brilliant idea. Yeah, okay. And then the game, yeah, if you can relate it, great. If not, just say So sharks in the water. Do you know sharks in the water? Okay. Yeah, that's okay. This is a normal thing. So sharks in the water, let's just play because it's fun to play. So I use the mats because we have them here, but if you are teaching somewhere else, you would maybe use the walls. You always have walls in your room. Or you might say, you know, you have to find a friend to keep you safe from the sharks or whatever. Right, so the sharks in the water are you are all little fishes swimming around, listening to your Suzuki music, and while the Suzuki piece is correct, you just swim and look happy. And if you hear a note that's wrong, that is a sign that there is a shark in the water, and you have to scream and run onto an island to be safe from the shark we're going to play. It's on. Okay, so there are two ways to do this game. Don't worry about the video, it's fine. One is very easy, and everyone who plays, like if I play you a piece maybe that you've never heard before, I'm trying to think about a piece that you might never have heard before. Okay, so if I play it for this piece, you're going to know that it's wrong. So this is like too easy. I've had so many teachers play. Anyone who's like ever heard anything will know that that's wrong. So this is a much better way to do it, where you play the piece and you change a note. So they have to compare it to what they know from the recording, but it's not obviously wrong. So you're going to swim, and when you hear a wrong note, squeal and get yourself on an island. Very bad at squealing. Or do change it a lot, but change it where it might be right. And you can make it last one song, or you can do it for 5 songs. I wouldn't do it for 5 songs actually. You can make it last for a little bit longer if you want to, but it's a really nice quick one to do. Did I finish the explanation about the pieces and the teams? No. Okay. So we have 2 lines of students. They play one person at a time against one person from the other team, not the whole team. I really recommend you just never try with the whole team, because someone shouts and you don't know where it's come from, and then they all tell you that it was their team and it's chaos. So play one person against each other, and then if you have an odd number, someone can have another go. So you can do it several ways. Either you choose a piece, you say the name, and they have to start playing, so they have to get ready before you do it. Or they don't have their instruments. You play the piece, and they have to say the name. Generally, they don't know the names of their pieces very well, so it's quite a good one for that. And I don't know if any parent has ever done this. Including in my own family. When I was teaching Tilly in book 1, I was always like, why don't you just make a playlist with the names of the pieces before, because there used to be a lot of complaint and it never got done. But I do quite frequently say to the parents, if you want to know which piece is called what, you just get yourself on your phone and go get the book, say twinkle busy busy stop stop, and make a tiny little voice clip for each name, and then just slot them in on iTunes. This is quite technical for people who are like completely tech phobic, but it's not like a massively difficult thing to do. So if you've got someone who complains a lot about not knowing which piece is which, that's one way that it could help. So that when they're doing their listening, it says lightly row, and then you hear lightly row.
Just one thing I need to clear in my head. So for example, you said long ago. So which group starts first to win the game, or
they get a point?
They get a point. Which one starts first?
Yeah.
Get a point. Okay, it's not something like this group they couldn't find the piece, so next group is not. Okay, I
If they can't, if neither of them can remember it, it's up to you. If you give them another piece, or you just say, okay, no one gets a point and move on. It's
this
kinder
one-
to give them another piece.
Is this like a game from memory?
Yeah. So what the pieces are called, how the pieces go,
They have to play
and
the
being
game
able to
forever.
remember which piece is which and how it goes quickly. That's what that game helps with.
So imagining that one of the kids start playing and it's correct, but then they don't remember it. They have to play the piece from the beginning to the end.
No, they just play like 5 seconds.
Okay, so you don't have to wait until they
Yeah.
finish.
No.
Got it.
I mean, you can play if you want to do like if you wanted to do a whole lesson for just review on memory. It's not a great lesson plan because it's kind of basic. It's just do you remember your pieces.
So just
But for example, if you were doing a play together, like at a workshop, sometimes you just want to get through loads of different pieces. You could do it like that, and as soon as they start playing, you can say, "Brilliant, you get the point. Okay, now everyone's going to play."
Mm.
And so that would be quite a nice way. I think there are, for me, I find it very useful to have a bunch of lesson plans in my head or written down that I can do if I'm feeling terrible. In whatever way, if you have an emotional situation happening and you're just like all over the place, or you have period pain, or you're really stressed out about something, like whatever it is, that if it's not bad enough to cancel, but you are like really minimum ability for yourself. I think lots of us have had to work in that kind of situation. Hopefully not very much, but it's really helpful to just think, okay, I know what I'm going to do. Especially group is so full on, and if you have, you have like 15 parents in the audience and then 10 kids on the thing, and you can just think, oh my god, I just actually can't do this. It's really helpful to have a bunch of things in your toolkit that are just like, right, today we're going to do this. That's one of those things. It's not going to be the best group lesson you've ever delivered, but the kids are going to have fun. You're just going to be able to do it on complete autopilot, and it's much better than cancelling. So things like that. You can do a play down. You can do so you can just say, okay, today we're each going to choose a piece or a game. Like it depends on the level, obviously. Or you can say, okay, we're just going to choose. We're going to play everything that we can think of in G major today. Some of these will be excellent lessons if you are feeling on top of things, but some of them you just need for like those days, like when you leave your violin at home and you're all over the place. So I think that it's a good idea to the ideal situation that we want from a group lesson is similar to a private lesson, that you are picking a point, you're working on it, you're using the repertoire to improve that point. So let's say we're going to think about dynamics. What would you think of as doing for dynamics as a warm-up if you had a group lesson?
The outro, was this?
Yeah, great, start.
Echo game.
Yeah, excellent. What else would you work on if you were going to work on
Particular
dynamics?
piece or
Well, or activities.
I might just get them to do what the busy stops up or caterpillar and just start very quiet and loud and then
Yeah,
back again.
yeah,
Right.
brilliant. Yeah, great. So just practicing in something really simple, different dynamics. Yeah.
What I do to practice that with my group is this thing that I do and they do, right? And we practice different dynamics and different speeds. So I clap with each other dynamic or speed, and then they go like, oh, this is forte and.
Yeah, great. So identifying, so if you're thinking about dynamics, the skills that you want are being able to play different dynamics, being able to follow instructions that are to do with dynamics, and being able to name, ideally, what the dynamics are, or at least, if they're very little, at least recognise like quiet, medium and loud. So your warm-up might be just doing I play, you play, tiny little bows, big bows, different variations at different dynamics. Maybe next steps, ask them to tell you what dynamic you're playing, and introduce them to piano, mezzo forte and forte, maybe. And then you might talk about which pieces have really clear dynamic differences in them. So go tone up radius excellent, that's the first one. What do we have next that has really clear dynamic changes?
Allegro?
What do you think happens dynamically in Allegro?
It
Actually,
seconds
it's not
after
really
Hotel Entrée, they all come little children.
Oh, come little children.
The big one.
Yeah, there's a big crescendo, and also the second line is an echo, is it not? In O Come Little Children. I'm just going to go at my book one if we're going to talk about this now.
And then my song has it too.
Yes, very good.
Dun 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 dun.
That's it. After my song, long ago.
So we introduce it in Go Turn Up Radio. We have the first echo. O Come Little Children has an echo also, and a crescendo and diminuendo in the fourth line. Make Song, as you said, has an echo. Yes, Long Long Ago has both, like O Come Little Children. Crescendo da 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 dee 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 dee.
I think almost all pieces.
Well, hopefully, yeah. Exactly.
From Hotel Entrée, they start dynamics.
Yeah, because music without dynamics is pretty boring, right? And then the echo. Allegro actually doesn't have any dynamic changes apart from a diminuendo. But it has lots of other things going on, and the same with perpetual motion, the same with etude. And then we have the accents being introduced in allegretto, etc. So it would be good to, and then once we get to the minuets, Sarah, how can you describe what's happening dynamically in the minuets?
The second.
Crescendos and diminuendos?
Yeah, just much more complex, right?
Yeah.
We have pianos, fortes, but also diminuendos, crescendos. Much more, like before that, it's been, you know, like, for example, Long Ago, you have the sort of peaks and troughs of the crescendo and the diminuendo, and then you have an echo, and then it's the same.
Yeah.
But minuets, the minuets, you know, we're moving into real music, it's just much more complex
Yeah.
all around. So layers of dynamics, like if you look at minuet 1,
I finished the homework, but I didn't print it.
oh, don't worry.
Should I send it to you? I don't know.
I haven't even finished it.
I finished
Okay.
it until.
What homework is that?
Teaching points. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
You have written up your teaching points?
I was writing it, but then
Did you find your bits that were missing, or do them again?
no, I don't know. I didn't find them.
But
I
have you
don't
done them
have-
again?
No, but no, I need to.
But you
do it.
will.
I did it. Can I check it's alright?
Okay, so if we're all looking at minuet 1 and minuet 2 is right next door, we have the kind of layer cake, mezzo forte, piano, mezzo forte, piano, mezzo forte. Well, it's actually mezzo forte because of the crescendo, because of the repeat. So this is still basic, like louds and quiets essentially, but many more different places, changes. And then minuet 2, we've got diminuendo at the end of the first half, piano, mezzo forte, piano, forte, and a diminuendo at the end. And minuet 3, similar. And so it's really, by the time we get to Gosset Gavotte, really complex diminuendos, dynamics to remember, not so much diminuendos and crescendos. But basically in book 1 it's still pretty blocky in terms of the dynamics. So I think if you were doing an early book 1 group lesson, yes, you would do May Song and Go Tell Aunt Rhodey for the echoes, and then you could introduce O Come Little Children and Long Long Ago for the fact that they have diminuendos and crescendos and diminuendos, and also an echo within it. And then if you had kids in book 2, you might say, okay, to finish work on the dynamics, we're going to play Gossip Gavotte. There might be only 3 children out of the group that could play that, and you would get the other children to do something like follow along in the music and look at the dynamics, or show, like copy with their hands what the children are playing, or maybe what you are playing, because the kids probably won't know their dynamics that well if they've only just started book 2 for Gossip. So all of those group lessons sort of plans and your private lessons are like teaching to the priority, which we'll talk about from the teaching from the balance point. Sarah, did you organise with Mum?
Yeah, I've got it.
Book, great. So you are not teaching one point as in sticking only on one thing the whole lesson, but you are teaching to one priority and using all of the different repertoire and games and activities that you have to consolidate that one piece of learning. And then in the private lessons also, by this point, you will have sight reading, which is a standalone 5 minutes of doing something different.
In groups.
Don't try and connect it.
Are you talking about in groups?
No, not in groups, in private lessons for the sight reading. Which is partly why I like to do a warm-up and then sight reading second, because the warm-up, you can relate it, please do relate it, but it's not going to be that different each time. You're probably going to do Twinkle in most of your book 1 warm-up lessons. You might do the staccato ones if you're planning to work on staccato or legato, whatever, but it's not a it's not a massive, it doesn't feel like a massive detour to do a warm-up and then your sight reading 5 minutes and then the rest of the lesson on whatever you started out with from your warm-up.
So basically, nearly all your lessons at that stage are on one thing really, but using lots of things to back it up.
Yeah. And that one thing, if it's a technical problem with their posture, will continue until you fixed it. So for example, with Noelle, who came to me from another teacher and has really, really severe hypermobility, we're still basically trying to fix her posture and bow holds, because they don't do what I ask them to do most of the time. But for example, if it had just been poor teaching and what I was asking them to do was happening and there wasn't a physical barrier as well, which often happens if you take students from other people, but also often happens with your own students. Like Lila, who's amazing, came back from the summer holidays suddenly playing really out of tune. I just didn't understand. If you watch her lessons from September, it's like we're working on Veracini Gigue, which is like full, it's D minor, it's full of ringing notes. And I'm just like, oh wow. Like, in fact, one of the teachers, I presume it's a teacher, who was watching my video on YouTube, thought it was helpful to comment, sorry, but it's so out of tune. And I was like, that's what we're working on. I think it's helpful to see how you train a student who was playing in tune, has started playing out of tune, and now is playing in tune again, to actually get back into being a student who plays generally in tune. Like, what do you want me to say to that? What a weird thing to say. Anyway,
her lessons are like
yeah, all of them.
Oh right.
From I don't know when.
Yeah.
Certainly book 4. Yeah, they're fun to watch because she's amazing. I mean, she just can do most of what. She's also pretty spicy sometimes. So she's you know, you can see quite a lot of like how to deal with a little bit of like.
Yeah.
Let's
Sassy.
focus. Yeah, sassy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think that in the case where someone might have picked up a bad habit for some unknown reason, or you've taken a student on from someone else and they haven't taught the thing in the way that you want to teach it, you would be working on that thing. Essentially, pick that one thing and work on it until it's no longer an issue. So if the bow hold, so for example, if you have a student who's got poor posture and a rubbish bow hold, which is more important? Posture. Because if they're not fixed here, it doesn't matter what's happening here, right? Or if they've got a waterfall problem and a head problem, you have to fix the head first, because you fix this, and then when you fix this, this will come back, because it's about being unstable here. So you might do 2 terms of lessons where all you say about the waterfall is before they play, okay, let's fix the waterfall, and then as they play it comes back in and you just don't think about it, and well, you do think about it, but you don't talk about it, because what you're trying to do and what you're doing the games for and the review for and the work on is whether their violin position is good and their posture. And then once they've got that fixed and you've done however many lessons you want to do, thinking, yep, I don't have to mention that anymore, that's great, we're really here, then you think, okay, the next thing we're going to work on is your waterfall. And you take the same process. Because if you look at a student and you think there are 6 things wrong with this student that I need to fix, and you try and fix them all at once, that student will quit, I absolutely guarantee. And you'll hate yourself. And it's just a horrible, horrible thing to just feel, you know, if you imagine going to work and your boss says, I've been meaning to talk to you about, if you have a boss, about some things about your work. You really need to, you know, your group lessons are a mess, you need to work on you don't take the register anymore, I really don't think that you're doing your planning properly, your violin playing is very out of tune, and also, by the way, I want you to be reading all of these books. It's just like, oh my god, it's completely impossible. Whereas if they pull you in and say, look, can we talk about your group lesson planning? This is what you need to do, how can I support you? And then 6 months later they say, I'm really pleased with your groups now, let's talk about your playing, do you think maybe you could have some lessons or whatever? Then over 5 years, or however long, they might have covered all of those things, but you don't feel like, well, obviously I'm just rubbish at this. Because if you let the students feel like they're obviously just rubbish at playing the violin, they're just not going to want to do it, because who wants to do something they don't have to do if they feel like they're crap at it? I mean, you know. Yeah, comes back to keeping the joy at the centre of everything we do. You can't be joyful about something that you feel terrible about. It's impossible. Okay. So much for a very short video on how to plan your 15 minutes of group lesson, but I think that's helpful. Let's have a 10-minute break and then we'll do teaching points.
Hey, when do you teach a group, actually?
Wednesdays, I now teach orchestra at 5:15. Book 4 lesson for Hannah, which is maternity leave cover, at 6, and then my own book 5 and 6 group at 6:45 for an hour.
So it's all on Wednesday. You don't do
Yeah.
do you do any more elementary groups?
I don't at the moment, I'm afraid.
I'm sure we can see them online.
I'm not sure that you can actually. I didn't really, I mean the group lessons are so difficult because people are coming in all the time, like new people coming in all the time, so if you want, you have to really be on top of permission to put kids on the internet, obviously. And so it's like one of those things that Irene was asking me about this on text, like I don't think there are very many group lessons of mine that you can watch online. There certainly are there's a lot of stuff from the pandemic, but it's more like play-togethers and just fun stuff rather than actual group lessons. But also I think group lessons is much better to come and watch in person if you can.
Yeah, I think I might just, and do you teach any individuals on Wednesday?
Yeah, so my Wednesday, but I don't have any beginners. My Wednesday goes Lila, 2:45, 3:30 Poppy, who's second half of book 5. So Lila's at the beginning of book 6. Second half of book 5, Neve, middle of book 6, late book 6 even now. And then orchestra, book 4 group, book 6 to 7, 5 to 6 group.
Right.
Yeah.
So, worth it.
How do you deal with like new people, like new kids coming to beginners group lessons all the time? Like, let's say at Nubio I do have a beginners group, and like every term there is a new kid.
Yeah.
And that's very, very difficult, like to balance, because I feel that I'm always coming back, which is necessary.
Yeah.
But for those who were already there, it's kind of.
So there's a, maybe I'll stop the video and show you, well the thing is about the videos, the video is helpful, but then I can't use the computer to show you the stuff. So on my YouTube channel, maybe I will look at my phone for this. On my YouTube channel there is inclusive group class for book 1s or something like that, it's called.
There were 2 videos I found on your channel for group lessons.
But what I'm rather than just videos that you can watch.
Inclusive group.
Let me just have, don't just, let me actually tell you what it's really called. Right, playlists, view all. Inclusive group class, book 1. So this has a lot of options for how you can incorporate the beginners into playing pieces, so that if you have a new student, you're not just going back to open strings or even bow holds in the first few weeks. So,
Inclusive group class, book 1.
book 1, yeah. So it's basically the easy parts for kids to play along with students who can play the whole song. Like Allegro, but either they can just do the retakes, or they can play 3, 3, E, wait, 3, 3, A, wait, 3, and then just bow in the air for the third line, for example. Or perpetual motion with the E and the A at the end. Quite a lot of them, it's really tricky in group class to show what they should be doing if you're also playing all of the music with the pieces, with the kids who can play all of it. So it's a nice way to tackle that is to get the more experienced students to practice leading, but you have to have one that you know will be able to play all of perpetual motion, for example. Or if you have a parent who plays even a little bit, they can show the easy version. Yeah, so there's quite a lot in there, and there is a talk that I did on group lessons. There is a little bit, 5 minutes of one of my group classes, and there's 2 sessions on games, one pre-twinkle and one book 1 that we've talked about in teacher training. I think that is probably it for groups on there. But then also if you go to the website, suzukihub.com, and you go to Teacher Hub. Are you all doing this with me? No? Okay, don't worry.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I should have probably. Say again?
Suzuki Hub, Teacher Hub. Oh, it's not on there actually. What am I thinking about then? I'm thinking about if we go to the Dropbox, that document that you have, Irem.
Sorry.
Oh. Oh, God, go away. Which I'm just having a complete brain malfunction and can't find on my phone. Right. So if we look in the teacher training, which probably needs organising because it's now so massive.
What teaching mixed ability group?
Yeah, that is really helpful.
Yeah.
Group lessons, TT group lessons. That's something else that's really helpful from Heather.
Is that in the same bit of the Dropbox?
It starts TT. Maybe I'll just rename it so that it starts with group lessons because it's not so helpful to have it called that.
I haven't actually got it in my Dropbox. Unless it's a different bit.
Group lesson planning.
teaching. Okay. We've got a lot of things in there, don't we? Teacher training materials, yeah? In this.
Yeah, so there's teaching mixed ability group lessons.
Yeah, I've got that. And then I've got techniques for Suzuki Book 1 and techniques in something. Techniques in Book 1 to 3, and that's the only thing that I've got beginning with T.
Yeah, that's because I've just renamed it, so it's now called group. Oh, now it's disappeared from mine. Wonderful. Group lesson. Okay, that's weird. It's
But even before you renamed it, it wasn't there, 'cause I had three.
Yeah, I couldn't find the TT as well before.
I think it's because it's it's a weird thing where it starts with a space. Let me just do it this way. Right, if you reload your folder, or maybe it just hasn't come through because it's not uploaded yet. Okay. I didn't realise that if you have accidentally put a space before the name, then it won't come up under. It just comes up under this random like hashtag thing. So it should. On mine, it's now onto G. If you're looking at it in an alphabetical box. Maybe I'll just send you all the link to it anyway.
So look at what's it called then? TT or groups?
No, group. No, I can't remember it and I'm not looking at it, but I'm about to send you the link in a WhatsApp.
Okay.
Group lesson planning. Okay, cup of tea, 10 minutes. Then we'll do some teaching points.
I'm sorry, I just haven't finished my